Welcome back, basketball fans, to another comprehensive deep dive into the absolute most controversial and heavily debated topics circulating throughout the National Basketball Association right now. Today we have an incredibly frustrating situation to discuss, and it involves the Boston Celtics, the San Antonio Spurs, and a refereeing decision that completely derailed what was supposed to be a phenomenal night of professional basketball. The product we all know and love is built upon the incredible talents of the players on the court, but unfortunately there are times when the officials insert themselves into the narrative in ways that completely ruin the viewing experience for millions of fans around the world. We are talking about the recent Tuesday night clash between the Boston Celtics and the San Antonio Spurs. This was a game that had an undeniable measuring stick kind of feel for both of these elite franchises. It was a heavyweight battle on national television featuring some of the best athletes in the entire world going head-to-head in a highly anticipated matchup. Fans tuned in expecting to see a masterpiece of offensive execution and defensive intensity. The final score ended up being 125-116 in favor of San Antonio, but that final box score truly does not tell the real story of what actually transpired on the hardwood. An otherwise excellent and highly competitive game of basketball was completely and totally overshadowed by an absolutely ridiculous decision made by the officiating crew to eject Boston Celtics superstar Jaylen Brown in the second quarter. To truly understand the magnitude of this ejection and why Jaylen Brown was completely justified in his intense reaction, we need to rewind and look at the broader context of this season and the specific history between the Boston Celtics and this San Antonio Spurs team. Jaylen Brown has been visibly angry and rightfully frustrated at the way he and his teammates have been officiated throughout this entire season. He has not been quiet about this issue either. He has been actively bringing light to the severe discrepancies in the whistle they receive, and ironically enough, the last time he made a major point about this was the last time the Boston Celtics played against the San Antonio Spurs. During that previous encounter, the Celtics lost the basketball game, and incredibly, the entire Boston team only shot 4 total free throws for the entire duration of the contest. Think about how absurd that statistic is for a modern professional basketball team that constantly attacks the paint and plays aggressive offensive basketball. Shooting only 4 free throws as an entire unit over the course of 48 minutes of high-level competition is almost statistically impossible unless the whistle is being completely swallowed by the officials. Following that specific frustrating loss, Jaylen Brown took to the microphone during his post-game press conference and directly called out the referees. He boldly suggested that every single time the Celtics play a truly good team in a marquee matchup, they somehow magically end up getting the short end of the stick when it comes to the officiating. Now, I am certainly no conspiracy theorist, and I do not believe the league is actively rigging games, but when you look at the raw data and then you witness what actually happened on the court this past Tuesday night, it provides a remarkably strong argument for the exact case that Jaylen Brown has been trying to build for months. The frustration was already simmering just beneath the surface before the opening tip even happened. As the first half of the game unfolded on Tuesday, it became painfully obvious that Jaylen Brown was once again getting a very tough whistle. He was absorbing physical contact on his drives to the basket, fighting through aggressive screens and dealing with a level of physicality from the Spurs defenders that simply was not being penalized by the officiating crew. The tension was building possession by possession. The breaking point finally arrived during a specific play in the second quarter. Jaylen Brown was operating with the basketball, and he clearly felt that he was blatantly pushed by a defender, causing him to lose his balance and consequently lose the ball out of bounds, resulting in a turnover. The referees swallowed their whistles and let the play go, declaring it a simple turnover on Boston. This ignored foul was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. It pushed an already frustrated Jaylen Brown completely over the edge. He immediately snapped at the crew chief Tyler Ford, who was the official directly responsible for making that specific out-of-bounds call. Brown began berating Tyler Ford, following him all the way up the basketball court, loudly yelling his grievances and aggressively pointing his finger. Jaylen was extremely upset, and his body language painted the picture of a man who had simply endured enough disrespect. Now, if we are being completely objective and fair about the rules of the game, whether that initial call was right or wrong, it is completely fair to say that a technical foul was absolutely warranted in that specific moment. You simply cannot chase an official up the floor pointing and screaming at the top of your lungs without expecting to be penalized. The crew chief Tyler Ford did exactly what he was supposed to do in that situation. He issued the first technical foul to Jaylen Brown. However, what happened next is where the situation completely spiraled out of control and where the officiating crew truly ruined a fantastic basketball game. After receiving that first technical foul, Jaylen Brown continued talking to Tyler Ford. This is actually a very common occurrence in professional basketball. An official will assess the penalty but then allow the passionate player a brief moment to verbally get the frustration out of their system, as long as the player is not using profane personal attacks or crossing a certain invisible line of disrespect. Tyler Ford was actively managing the situation. He was letting Jaylen Brown vent his frustrations because Ford likely understood the context of the game, the physical nature of the preceding plays, and the emotional state of a highly competitive superstar. Tyler Ford recognized that Jaylen was not crossing that critical line. Everything seemed to be de-escalating naturally. But then, out of absolutely nowhere, the umpire of the officiating crew, Suyash Mehta, aggressively inserted himself into a situation that was already being managed by his crew chief. Without warning and without any clear escalation from Jaylen Brown, Suyash Mehta suddenly hit the Boston star with a second technical foul. By the rules of the league, a second technical foul results in an automatic and immediate ejection from the basketball game. This rash and completely unnecessary decision by Suyash Mehta prompted the ejection and understandably led Jaylen Brown to completely and totally lose his cool. If you were watching the broadcast, you saw a level of sheer anger from Jaylen Brown that you will rarely ever see from him. He is typically a very stoic and composed individual, but this level of perceived injustice completely broke his calm demeanor. He was absolutely furious, and the situation escalated to the point where he had to be physically restrained by his coaching staff, multiple teammates, and even arena security personnel before he could finally be escorted off the court and back to the locker room. The entire arena was in a state of shock. The broadcast announcers were stunned. The fans in the stands were booing relentlessly. It was a truly ugly scene that never needed to happen. Right now seems like the perfect time to pause for just a quick moment to say that if you are enjoying this comprehensive breakdown of the Celtics situation and you want to stay updated on all the latest controversies, news, and deep dives around the league, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button on this video. It helps our community grow tremendously and ensures you never miss out on our daily basketball content. We greatly appreciate your support. Now let us get back to the absolute fiasco that unfolded after Jaylen Brown was sent to the locker room. Just minutes after he was escorted off the floor while the game was still awkwardly continuing in the second quarter, Jaylen Brown grabbed his phone and fired off a message on social media. He tweeted out a very blunt and explicit statement saying this the exact stuff I be talking about but using a much stronger word. And honestly, when you look at the entire context of the situation, he is absolutely correct. This is exactly what he has been talking about all season long. The absolute core of this issue and the primary reason why Jaylen Brown was completely justified in his intense reaction is one simple, undeniable fact. No other star player in this entire league gets this bad of a whistle and this incredibly short of a leash from the officiating crews. The double standard in the National Basketball Association is glaringly obvious to anyone who watches the games on a nightly basis. Let us look at the landscape of the league. You have guys like Luka Doncic, Draymond Green, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, and countless other high-profile players who are practically famous for constantly berating officials. These players will ride the referees for an entire 48-minute game. They will aggressively gripe and complain about every single little foul, every single ignored violation, and every single perceived slight. They scream, they wave their arms, they stare down the officials, and they rarely, if ever, are made to pay the ultimate price of an ejection for their behavior. They are granted a massive amount of leeway because the league inherently understands that the fans pay their hard-earned money to see the superstars play the game. The referees are trained to manage the egos and the emotions of these specific players. Yet when you look at Jaylen Brown, the situation is entirely different. Here you have a player who is having an absolute monster of a season. Jaylen Brown is playing at such an elite level right now that he is universally considered a legitimate most valuable player candidate this year. He is the driving force behind one of the best teams in the world. But when this legitimate MVP candidate decides to finally push back against a demonstrably bad whistle in a massive marquee game being broadcast on national television against a major rival opponent, he is not given an ounce of leeway. Instead, he quickly gets hit with two rapid-fire technical fouls by two entirely different referees and is unceremoniously tossed completely out of a tight two-point basketball game before the halftime buzzer even sounds. It is an absolute joke of a situation. Whether this treatment is somehow targeted by the officials or if it is just a product of incredible incompetence, the bottom line is that Jaylen Brown is 100% right in his assessment of the landscape. Other star players of his caliber simply do not get ejected for this kind of standard complaining. The referees in that specific moment completely lost sight of their primary role. They are there to facilitate a fair competition, not to become the center of attention. By ejecting one of the best players on the planet over a relatively standard argument regarding an ignored foul, they completely ruined what was shaping up to be an instant classic of a basketball game. They robbed the fans sitting inside the arena who paid hundreds or even thousands of dollars for their tickets of the opportunity to see their favorite player compete. Furthermore, they robbed the massive national television audience of the high-level entertainment they deserved to see on a Tuesday night. The product suffered immensely because an umpire decided to step out of his lane and enforce a secondary technical foul that the primary crew chief did not even feel was necessary. The inconsistency is maddening for the players, the coaches, and the fans alike. You cannot have a league where one set of rules applies to certain established superstars while a completely different, much stricter set of rules applies to a player like Jaylen Brown who is actively dominating the league. If there is absolutely any sort of silver lining to be found in this entire embarrassing fiasco, it is the hope that this specific incident was such a massive, high-profile abomination that Jaylen's overarching point will finally be clearly communicated and understood by the league office. The NBA executives in New York need to take serious notice of what happened in Boston on Tuesday night. They need to review the footage, listen to the audio, and realize that their officials are actively damaging the entertainment value of their primary product. Things absolutely must start to change regarding how these games are managed and how these star players are communicated with. The level of frustration among the players is reaching a boiling point, and incidents like this ejection only serve to throw gasoline on that fire. It is long overdue for the league to demand better accountability and emotional intelligence from their refereeing crews. The game of basketball is too beautiful, and the athletes are too talented to have the spotlight constantly stolen by the people blowing the whistles. Jaylen Brown deserved better, the Boston Celtics deserved better, and the millions of basketball fans watching around the globe absolutely deserved better. Hopefully, the massive backlash from this uncalled-for ejection will serve as the final catalyst for a much-needed reform in how the rules are applied across the board, ensuring that the stars are allowed to shine and the games are decided by the players making plays rather than the referees making points.